Hey, what is up, Improvement Warrior? Welcome to the new webinar. I'm Jason Yun. I am your host, and welcome to the Improvement Warrior University webinar and education series, helping you achieve your greatest life, helping you to become the Improvement Warrior. What we got tonight is the first part of the blue light series. And if you have not heard of blue light before, you are in for a rude awakening because it's mind-blowing what you're going to learn here. And you're going to learn it, quite possibly, is the reason for the health issues that you might have or the world has. So let me share my screen and pull this up and we will get started. And this is the first part of the blue light series. So there are several other webinars, leptin, 13 pillars, and there is definitely more to come because you should never stop educating yourself. All right, so so this is the first slide. Let me pull it up and we'll get going here. All right. Welcome to the blue light webinar. If you do have questions, this will be posted. This will be part of the free series of Improvement Warrior University. So it will be up at IWU. It'll be up on my blog on improvementwarriorfitness.com. It'll be up on YouTube, my Facebook page. And yeah, so share it out with whoever you feel needs to see this. And in my opinion, everybody needs to see this because this picture explains it all. This is why our species is sick. Right here, blue light. So, all right. So blue light, part one. Your light environment is more important than food and exercise. And I know that is going to be shocking to a lot of people to hear, but it is absolutely 100% true. So I have been doing a biohack since the late September, and I can absolutely tell you your light environment is 100% more important. Well, maybe not 100% more. It's vitally more important than food and exercise. Okay. And I love this picture here. So there's a guy holding the blue light, and there's a guy in a hazmat costume. So that's kind of what it needs to be, because I don't know if you can still see me, but I'll come back, but you can see how I'm dressed. All right, even though I have no blue lights going on in here right now. All right, so I always like to start off these webinars, educational webinars, from where I came from and how I came to be. So these two pictures were my bodybuilding years. And when I say bodybuilding, I wasn't a professional bodybuilder, obviously. I never competed or anything like that. I was anywhere between 220 pounds to 234 pounds was my biggest. This was college years, so I would say anywhere from 19 to 26 years old. And obviously, if you would have asked me back then, I would have told you I looked like Arnold in his bodybuilding heyday, but obviously not. I was somewhere between 20–26% body fat, pre-diabetic, following the standard American diet, high carbohydrates, low fat, low cholesterol, high protein, and it was basically, it killed me, almost killed me, literally. So depression, severe depression, high anxiety, thoughts of suicide pretty much weekly, and just did not like my life, as you could tell from the pictures. Losing my hair, that was part of the depression as well. So anytime that happens during college, you're going to have some depressive years. But that was pretty much my facial expression at all times. Then came the paleo years. And when I went paleo, I felt the absolute best I've ever felt in my entire life. And I mean, anytime you switch from the standard American diet to taking out the wheat, taking out the gluten, taking out the soy, the corn, all the bad stuff, you're going to feel remarkably better. However, I still was not happy because, as you can see, I'm still pretty chubby there. And yeah, could not get rid of my gut. And I had my fitness business when I went paleo, and I really was ashamed to talk about nutrition because I felt that I couldn't get my body to where I wanted to be, especially with my belly, because I didn't have the six-pack abs or the body of somebody that looked like they belonged on the cover of a fitness magazine. So I kind of felt like a fraud talking about nutrition. And then 2013, everything changed. So this was a 30-day transformation. Paleo on the left. So I was 190, 191 pounds, and then dropped the body fat, dropped the visceral fat. That was the most important thing. So this was my nutritional cleansing, 30 days, went through that. And then since then, I have been on a journey in terms of nutrition, then going to keto, then low carb, high fat. Now I'm doing a keto, low carb, high fat, but with a lot more seafood, as you'll discover why in this presentation. And just doing a lot of different things with my nutrition. But nutrition is where this presentation is basically my retirement from being a nutrition guru or nutrition coach or whatever you want to call me, and also a fitness guru or strength coach, whatever you want to call me. So we're heading into the light years of Jason Yun. So let's get into it. All right, so mitochondria. Mitochondria. You should know that word. You should know what it is. And we're going to go over it here real quick. So your mitochondria is an environmental sensor inside of your cells. It is the powerhouse of the cell. The actual number varies inside the cell. So liver cells can be anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 cells. One neuron has about 3,600. The closer the mitochondria is to the nucleus, they function better. However, if you get neurodegeneration or your brain starts declining, that means they're getting farther and farther away, or they are already far, far away. And that is just bad, bad news. So we want our mitochondria to be close to the nucleus. And then there's also, well, we'll talk about it here in a little bit. All right, so we have two genomes, okay? And science and doctors and personal trainers and people in the know, they focus on the wrong one. So they focus on the nuclear genome, which most people know as genetics. However, there is a mitochondrial genome, and that is the one everybody should be focused on. Both of those genomes, they talk to each other, so they are both extremely important. Okay? So Dr. Doug Wallace, he is the premier researcher in mitochondrial research, and he has a quote on mitochondrial disease versus genetic. He found that the size and shape of the mitochondria changed with no nuclear genome changes in disease presentation. So that is the key to every single disease on the planet. He has gone on to say that anywhere between 80 to 85% of the diseases that you know of, and the ones you've probably never heard of, because there's a lot of them that I've never even heard of, those diseases are of mitochondrial DNA, okay, not the genetic one. And Jack Cruz, who's a neurosurgeon, he's basically my Yoda. So a lot of the information in this presentation and that I've been doing in this 6-month biohack is coming from him. He thinks it's more closer to 99% is of mitochondrial nature, because even if you do have a true genetic disease, your mitochondria is screwed up in some way, okay? So it's basically FUBAR, messed up, bad. Right? If you don't know what FUBAR is, If you don't know what FUBAR is, watch Tango and Cash. Kurt Russell lays it out pretty good, but I like to keep my webinars and presentations and videos pretty clean. All right, and then geometry of your respiratory proteins. Doug Walsh also says the geometry of your respiratory proteins, the shape and size of them, is the single most important thing to our health. Okay, so inside each mitochondria we have 5 respiratory proteins. So cytochrome 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they should be anywhere between 35 to 60 angstrom apart, and an angstrom, the diameter of it is about the size of an atom. So it's very, 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 very minuscule, very, very small. So the distance between the respiratory proteins is known as your percent heteroplasmy. And the higher your heteroplasmy gets, the more you have disease present, or the more your health is fading. So you need to do some things rather quickly to fix the disease that you have going on. Doug Walsh also discovered that all mitochondria is inherited on your mother's side. So if your mother lived a toxic life, or your grandma lived a toxic life, they're passing those mitochondria down to you. Okay, so if you're sick with a disease or something right now, you can thank mom. All right, so second page of the mitochondria. All right, so if you have the improper light signals coming in, those are going to stretch the respiratory proteins apart. Okay, so the closer together the mitochondria of the respiratory proteins, the more efficient and the more healthy you are. Okay, also with the improper light signals, you can't tell the mitochondria how to deliver electrons through electron chain transport to oxygen. Okay? Like I said, there's 5 cytochromes, cytochrome 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then those eventually go to oxygen. So you're trying to get from cytochrome 1 to oxygen, okay? Because respiration is the most important thing for humans. Okay? If I take away your oxygen, you're not going to live very long. Okay? Now, we get electrons from food. All of our electrons, or all of the food that we eat, it gets transformed into whatever you've been told, fatty acids, amino acids, glucose, okay? But eventually it becomes electrons, and that's how we get it into the mitochondria to get energy, to turn it into oxygen, to make ourselves, fuel ourselves, to make the ATP. So you probably heard, if you've heard about mitochondria, you know it's the powerhouse of the cell. It's what creates the ATP that gives us the energy to do the things we need to do. Okay, so all electrons are identical. And it's your mitochondrial's job to basically figure out the electron's light inside of them in order to move it from cytochrome 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to oxygen. Oxygen is the terminal electron acceptor. Okay? And life is basically, it's fundamentally moving electrons from cytochrome 1 to oxygen. Now, if you can't do that, then that's death. Okay? So you give somebody cyanide, it's death like that. However, with the human body and doing things, living a toxic lifestyle, it's a buildup. Okay? That's why we don't get Alzheimer's disease at 10 years old. Okay? It's a buildup of certain diseases. But eventually, as it's building up, more and more symptoms will start piling on. Okay? It's like, what are you going to do? All right? Do you want to continue to live the cycle of just getting sick, going to the doctor, getting prescriptions, and just keep doing that cycle until things start breaking down? Or do you want to live the optimal life? Do you want to be the improvement warrior? I choose the improvement warrior. And if you're watching this, I'm assuming you want to be the improvement warrior as well. Okay. And Jack Kruse calls it being a mitochondriac. So I am a mitochondriac. Bring it to you. All right. EMF versus non-native EMF. If you watch the 13 Pillars of Health webinar, which you should have done, this slide is coming directly from that. We have native EMF and we have a non-native EMF. Every single chronic disease and ailment non-native EMF has some play in it. Okay, anywhere from 10 to 90%. Some people would say up to 100%. Now, your most worst offenders of the non-native EMF is going to be your Wi-Fi, smartphone, microwaves, computers, television, appliances, anything labeled smart, anything that plugs in and uses electricity, anything that uses the power grid is going to be a non-native EMF. And the worst, I would say, battery-operated machinery for non-native EMF is going to be your electric toothbrush and an electric shaver. Okay, so if you are using those, please stop if you care about your health, because those are in your mouth and on your face. Okay, and so very close proximity to the brain. Okay, and we don't want to do anything that messes up the brain. Okay, and then we have the native EMF. That is the sun. Okay, also the Schumann resonance. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's basically known as Earth's heartbeat. Okay, Earth's heartbeat, and it resonates at 7.83 hertz. Coincidentally, what also resonates at 7.83 hertz is the alpha wave inside of the brain. And unfortunately, a lot of people will never experience the alpha wave or cannot get into it as easily as we should, because we are so addicted to the non-native EMF. Okay, if you are technology driven, technology addicted, you may never experience the alpha wave inside the brain. And it's basically just, how do I explain it? Euphoria, okay? Just reaching another level of using the brain, okay? Now, the worst non-native EMF and the worst inventions ever, worst non-native EMF is blue light, okay? And the worst inventions ever would probably be the power grid, because that's how we plug into the blue light. So Tesla created the power grid when he electrified the Chicago's World Fair in 1893 with Westinghouse, and Edison created the light bulb in 1879. So just a few years, 14 years apart from each other. And the first chronic disease, or the first record of Alzheimer's, happened in 1901. Okay, but if you went back through the data, went back through the research, you would find absolutely no papers on any chronic disease before 1900. So, and the light bulb created 1879, power grid created 1893. So it does take some time to build up these diseases and issues. Okay? And that might shock some people that they're worse inventions because we think it's progress. But however, just look at the decline that we've had since 1900. Okay? And it's getting worse and worse and worse because we've got the Wi-Fi and the networks going from 1G to 4G, and eventually we're going to 5G. Okay, some cities are already at 5G, so Dallas, Indianapolis, Chicago, Boston, LA. Yeah, so it's some people say 5G is going to be the worst of the non-native EMF once it does get here. And if it is already here, then you might be in trouble. All right. Okay, and then these are just some of the books that I pulled on EMF. So if you think it's woo-woo and all that stuff, remember I started this presentation off with the mitochondria, and I told you it is an environmental sensor inside of your cells. And we have hundreds of trillions of cells. Okay, so it's basically, it's a second-by-second indicator, and it knows what's going on. And if you're surrounded by Wi-Fi, you've got your phone in your pocket, not on airplane mode, okay, then your mitochondria is getting messed up and your respiratory proteins is growing stretching apart. All right, DHA, deficiency. So 600 million years ago, we had the Cambrian explosion. And from that explosion, all complex life was created. And from that, we basically stole the mitochondria from bacteria via a process known as endosymbiosis. And also, we put DHA in the cells. Okay, so we basically brought the C inside of our body, inside of our cells. Okay, so we all come from the C's. We come from the animals, from the C's, because that's where all life started. Okay, since then, DHA never replaced in our cells one time. Now, DHA, if you don't know, it's part of the omega-3 family. There's also the EPA, ALA, I believe there's another one, ILA, but that's not important. DHA is by far the most important, okay? It is in every single cell except for the inner mitochondrial membrane, and it is highest in the eyeball, okay? That's important. We'll get into the eye big time here coming soon. What basically happens, proper light hits the eye, it turns the DHA in the eye into a DC electric current. The DC electric current is basically what starts the healing process for every single living thing on this planet. Okay, so you cut yourself, you get a scab, eventually that scab goes away and it looks like nothing ever happened in that area that you cut yourself. Okay, that's a DC electric current working. Wolverine, the Marvel comic book dude, Hugh Jackman, so he gets shot, he gets stabbed, he gets punched, he gets in an accident, he recovers like instantaneously. So that's the DC electric current working on steroids. Okay, if you can't get that DC electric current going through the body, then that's an issue. You're not going to be able to heal or repair or reverse your disease. Okay, it starts with DHA. Okay, moving on to the eye. Our eye, see, and now picture very detailed, so our eye is a clock. So blue light in the eye. The eye is where obesity starts. Okay, so we have something known as the SNC, which is the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It is the master clock. And it controls every single growth and metabolic program in our body, every single one of them. Remember, there is hundreds of trillions of cells. You need to think of the SCN as the grandfather clock. Okay, it's the head coach. Okay, and then we have anywhere between 19,000 to 20,500 genes. Some would say up to 25,000. And in front of each of those genes is a peripheral clock. Okay, so the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the grandfather clock, needs to run faster than those clocks. Otherwise, the suprachiasmatic nucleus doesn't know what's going on in the rest of the body. Okay, so that's Einstein's law of general and special relativity. So basically, it's like you have a football team and you have the head coach, which is the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and then you've got the players doing whatever they want. So the quarterback is calling an audible, the wide receivers are doing their own play, the tight end is dancing jig, the running backs are sitting down having a cup of tea. Okay, so nobody knows what is going on, or the head coach doesn't know what's going on in the rest of the body, basically. So that causes chaos, that causes inflammation, that causes disease presentation or disease continuation, which eventually leads to death. Okay, so if your program that runs all of your clocks is off, does food really matter? And the answer is no. So you need to think of it like the engine of your car versus your fuel tank. So does it matter if you put premium gas in your engine or premium gas in your fuel tank if your engine is broke? No. Okay, So think of the suprachiasmatic nucleus as basically your engine. Mitochondria is your wheels. So how far are you going to get if you don't have any wheels, or you just have one wheel, or you have a flat in one of them? Okay? Not very far at all. Okay, so continue on with DHA. So DHA is the fundamental key thing in biology. The retina is one of the most metabolically active tissues in our body. Okay, so you can tap into autophagy, which is our repair process during sleep. All right, hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so you can tap into autophagy, which is our repair process during sleep, if you have more DHA in the eye. Okay, blue light destroys DHA. Okay, so it will cause melanopsin dysfunction. We'll talk about melanopsin here in a little bit, and altered vitamin A cycles, which destroys our photoreceptors or our eye camera. Okay, so rats and mice versus us. So a lot of these nutrition studies are done with rats and mice, and some of the things that we believe wholeheartedly, so kind of like our dogma, comes from studies based on rats and mice. However, with rats and mice, we're both eutherian or eukaryotes. So there's three types of species: bacteria, archaea, and eukaryotes. We are the most complex eukaryote. However, mice and rats, the reason they do it is because their biology is similar to us. However, they are nocturnal, so they're up at night and sleep during the day, and we are the opposite. Okay, so rats and mice have a strong covalent bond inside of them. So blue light cannot break the bond cannot break that covalent bond with the vitamin A. Okay, with us, our vitamin A, we have a loose covalent bond. So blue light will basically just snap it. Okay, and that's the reason vitamin A is tied to health as well. So you got DHA tied to vitamin A also tied to vitamin D. Okay, so if your vitamin D is low, you probably also have low vitamin A, and you probably also have low DHA. Okay, so if any of those are low, then you probably have low one of the other one as well. Okay, so we need to bring it up, bring your health back. Okay, and also DHA is there. It's there to help set our circadian cycle, which sets up our life for success. In the 13 Pillars of Health webinar, number 1 is circadian biology. Okay, if we do not follow the rules of circadian biology, we cannot get healthy. It's that simple. Okay. All right, so the best nutrition for a blue lit world. Okay, so an epi-paleo ketogenic diet. Excuse me, let me rephrase it. Epi-paleo ketogenic lifestyle. I don't like that word diet. You're never going on a diet again. Okay, diet is a 4-letter word. Get it out of your vocabulary. Okay, even though it's called the paleo D word and the ketogenic D word, get it out of your life. Okay, so an epi-paleo ketogenic nutrition style, focusing on DHA, so focusing on seafood and consuming as much seafood as possible. Okay, higher the DHA in that seafood, the better for you, especially if you have a mitochondrial disease. Right? So eat to control your circadian biology. It is more important when you eat rather than what. So I will say, when it is light outside, kitchen's open. When it's dark outside, kitchen's closed. Now, all food gets transformed into either glucose, carbohydrate will get changed into glucose, fats will get changed into fatty acids, proteins will get changed into amino acids. And from there, those will get turned into electrons or protons. Okay? And then they will go through the electron chain transport into the mitochondria to deliver to oxygen. Now, paleo, keto, low carb, high fat with lots of DHA. Okay, again, the more sick you are, less carbs you're going to be consuming, and more DHA and following your circadian biology. And there's a whole bunch of other things. Leptin prescription you should probably be following, especially if you're overweight or you have, usually people that do have a mitochondrial disease are leptin resistant, but just watch the leptin webinar as well. Okay. All right, so blue light and melatonin. Okay, so blue light destroys the melatonin cycle. All right, the quote over here, I love it. Humans are the only species bright enough to make artificial light and stupid enough to live under it. Okay. So melatonin controls the respiratory proteins in your mitochondria. So it's been shown to correlate directly to the size and shape of them. Remember, Doug Wallace says the geometry of your respiratory proteins is the single most important thing in regards to your health. Okay, so it's number one for keeping your clocks right or wrong. Okay, the hormone of darkness, which melatonin is known as, is first activated in the morning. Okay, so my story with blue light is I had heard about blue light and the damaging effects. I believe it was Ben Greenfield or Dave Asprey, one of those podcasts. And so what I would do was I would always put my blue blockers on when the sun went down. Okay. However, the issue was sometimes I would be teaching my classes. So I own a gym in Hilliard, Ohio, and sometimes I'd be teaching my classes till 9 o'clock, and then sometimes I'd have a meeting, I'd be teaching my classes till like 8 o'clock, and then sometimes I have a meeting afterwards. So I wouldn't get home until like 9 or 9:30, and then bedtime is usually 10:45. So those nights I would only be having my blue blockers on for hour and a half, 2 hours. Okay. But anytime you're exposed to blue light, your melatonin is getting destroyed. It's going down and going down. Okay. So since I started this biohack, which is not really a biohack anymore, it's part of my life. So I basically wear blue blockers all day long, especially if I'm on the computer. And even though there's no blue light coming from it because I have a filter on it. So I use Iris. I used to use Flux. Flux isn't as good as Iris. I made a video comparing the two, but go with Iris. It's much better. But if you don't have a filter on it, blue light blockers are absolutely essential. I don't know if you can see the ones that I'm wearing, but they are heavily orange tinted. You can get like UVEX glasses, and actually part 2 is going to be going over filters and going over blue blockers and whatnot. But they do make like clearer ones. So like computer glasses or video game glasses. If you have kids playing video games, you need to get them a pair as well. My daughter, when she watches TV or gets on the iPad, she puts them on. Okay? Sometimes she remembers, sometimes I need to remind her. But it's very important because it's basically destroying the DHA, and it's destroying the melatonin. And melatonin, it comes out at night. Okay, that's when everybody knows of it. It helps us sleep and all that stuff. However, it is first made in the morning, okay, when you are exposed to the morning sunlight. Okay, so that's rule number 1 for fixing your circadian biology, fixing your circadian rhythm, is seeing the sun rise every single morning, even if it's cloudy. Okay, so basically the clock needs to know what time it is by being outside. Okay, but we have basically what Jack says there, humans are only species bright enough to make artificial light and stupid enough to live under it, but we've also changed our environment completely since the lights came out, and since last 100, 200 years. If you think how we lived so it's 2019 now, think about how we lived in 1919, completely different. Think about how we lived in 1819, completely different, all that stuff. So we basically created ourselves to be modern day zoo animals. Okay, and I was one of them 6 months ago. Not anymore. Okay, so I share this on social media. I've shared it, I think, 2 or 3 times, and I will continue to share it a lot because it is absolutely true. So basically, a couple was sleeping, the guy's phone goes off, he wakes up, looks at it, and basically he's getting the blue light in, he's destroying his sleep, he's destroying his DHA, destroying vitamin A, all that stuff, and he's destroying his partner. Because when you do have a phone, it is a PEMF device, pulsed electromagnetic field device. It is basically a microwave, okay? If it is on and is not on airplane mode, it is disturbing, it's contacting the cell tower and it's connecting with it to get the data through it, okay? And that's running through you, okay? And it's destroying your mitochondria, destroying your sleep. Anything that destroys sleep destroys us and destroys your melatonin, which destroys your mitochondria, which stretches your respiratory proteins. So everything is connected. So if you sleep with your phone on, then that's an issue. You are never, ever going to reverse your disease. Okay? Put it on airplane mode, or if you're somebody that needs to have the phone on, you're on call or something, I would strongly suggest getting a landline or just putting it as far, far away from you as possible. Okay? And also unplug the Wi-Fi. All right, so slide 2, blue light and melatonin. So melatonin is one of the biogenic amines. The others are dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine. Those are the neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters make us feel good, okay? But sometimes they can make us feel good with the wrong substances. So our phone is one of those that can cause our neurotransmitters to go off. That's why you see people addicted to their phone. They're always looking down. Okay? You see a group of people, they're actually texting each other when they're right next to each other. Okay? So all biogenic amines, they absorb UV light because they are made out of aromatic amino acids. Aromatic amino acids absorb UV light. So I got a picture here of the aromatic amino acids. It's tryptophan, tyrosine, phenylalanine, and histidine. They all absorb UV light. And the more sunlight it absorbs, the body has protein in our cells that uses light to determine how things work in us. We have, like I said, we have hundreds and hundreds of trillions of cells, and in each cell we have 100,000, around 100,000 biological programs running in each of those cells every single second. Okay? And light determines how things will work and how things run. Okay? So if you're exposed to the right light, they'll run good. Okay? You should be healthy. If you're exposed to the wrong light, that's when things go awry. Blue light is the wrong light. Okay. Now, our blue light receptor is melanopsin. Okay, so melanopsin is in the eye. It is also in the skin. Okay, it was discovered in the eye in 1998, and it was discovered in the skin in 2017. All right. So blue light is the spectrum for blue light is between 435 and 465 nanometers of light. I have a chart here going over the different spectrums of the different lights. Okay, but blue light can raise your blood sugar and your glucose without any food. Think about that. Okay. So again, I'm going to say that again. Blue light can raise your blood sugar and glucose without food. Okay. So people having trouble getting into ketosis on the keto nutrition plan, think about your light environment. Blue light will increase the distance between your respiratory proteins. It will destroy the DHA signaling in your eye. Okay, the little graph here I have, melanopsin is a blue light detector. The loose covalent binding in humans makes the vitamin A in the human iPRGCs more vulnerable to degradation by blue light. Okay? The iPRGC is the intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cell. So that's in your retina. Okay, so implications is loss of circadian rhythm, circadian biology, number one, most important thing for your health. Okay, so loss of your circadian rhythm is the most sensitive sign of blue light toxicity. Okay, and our skin is our largest organ in the body, and it controls the gut clocks as well. So remember, in front of each of our genes, we have a peripheral clock. Okay, if those clocks are off, then something in your body's off, and that's inflammation when the clocks are off. Okay, all right. So here is the color spectrums. So shoot. Okay, so blue is anywhere between 430 and 500. Then you got cyan and green. I can't see cyan and green at all because I got the iris filter and these blue blockers on. So I have no idea what they are, and you probably can't see it either because I have the filter on. But then you've got, we've got that violet is ultraviolet, so it's purple. It goes all the way down to 250, and red can go all the way up to 3,000. So we can only see, I believe it's 380 to 750 nanometers of light, and then you got the 250 to 380. And then you've got everything above 750, which is infrared light. Okay, it's the frequencies in the violet, in the purple, and the frequencies in the red that really do some amazing things in the body, which will be another webinar. Okay, and then here is another picture of the light spectrum. So we got the infrared, the visible light, 380 to 750, and then we got ultraviolet. So you got UVA, UVB, UVC. UVB is what makes the vitamin D from your skin. You can supplement all day long with vitamin D. If you're not getting outside, you're not getting the sunlight, even on a cloudy day, you're still getting vitamin D. So get outside. And UVA is what tans, but also does a whole host of other things. So when we get into the sun series, we'll be talking more about that. Okay, and also green light might be an issue, especially as you get older. So green light is right above. Yeah, so blue goes right into cyan and then goes to green. So green could be an issue if you're older. So these blue blockers here block the green as well. So they block up to 550 nanometers. Okay. All right, so we're almost finished here. Blue light in the eye, part 2. Okay, so the eye is where obesity starts. So the 4 most important areas, surfaces of our body is the eye, the skin, the gut, and the lungs. Myopia, 40% of the United States is said to have it in 2016. Myopia is basically just nearsightedness. Okay, by 2050, it's expected 50% of the entire world will have it. So that is a study that just came out of the Journal of Ophthalmology. And the thing is, with eye health, if the prescriptions just keep going up and up and up, you need stronger ones every few years, every decade. That's not how it's supposed to be. Okay. So the eye is our camera. The eye is super, super important in terms of obesity. And then AMD, which is acute macular degeneration. Okay, is if you know somebody that has that, especially if they're older, it's basically a blue light hazard disease. Okay, so first you get myopia, so the eye stretches, you can't see as well. Okay, that's blue light toxicity going on right there. And then you get a detached retina, then you get acute macular degeneration, and you could get cataracts and other eye diseases and bad things happening. Okay, so you can Google the celibacy syndrome in China, but basically all the kids in China, teenagers and 20s, mid-20s, they don't want to have sex anymore. So, and that's part of the blue light toxicity, blue light hazard. Okay, so blue light controls leptin. Leptin is the master hormone. It controls appetite, it controls hunger, it controls energy, and it also controls the sex steroids. So testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, okay? And if those go out of whack, then you're not going to have the normal urges or the normal ability to perform and procreate and make the species continue on, okay? So watch the leptin webinar, improvementwarriorfitness.com/leptin, or just go to my YouTube channel, YunTraining, and you can see it there. Okay. And let's see, obese people are obese because they're losing too much light. All stressed cells release extreme low frequency UV light, and you need to replace that. Basically, if you live your life as a modern day zoo animal, you're indoors under blue light all the time, okay? And you're not outside replacing that UV light, okay? And if you have a mitochondrial disease, then your cells are stressed constantly, and you're constantly losing light. Okay, so these are just some comparisons of the natural sunlight versus the LED light, the incandescent light, and the CFL, compact fluorescent light. And it doesn't matter if it's compact or just the regular fluorescent tubes that a lot of the businesses have. Okay, so take a look at sunlight and then compare it to the LED. Okay, LED release spikes with blue. Incandescent's a little better. It's basically just linear. It's going up, up, up. So incandescent is the best of the bulbs in here, and CFL it has points of spiking in different colors there. CFL is those compact fluorescent, the little twirly light bulbs. Those are actually the worst because if they break, you basically have to call hazmat to take care of the aftermath, okay? Because they're filled with mercury and they're filled with all kinds of toxic chemicals and all that stuff. So basically, this is a question for fourth graders or question for kindergartens. Comparing the sunlight, do the other three look the same? And the answer is no. Okay, it's a big time no. All right, and then here we've got different light sources with melatonin suppression. So you've got the LED bulb, which is giving you about 6,000 Kelvin. It will suppress your melatonin by 80%. The compact fluorescent, around 80% as well. Incandescent it drops it by half, but it's still 40%. All right, I'm not giving up 40% of my melatonin. No way. And then you have the candle, 2%. And then you have a candle light style OLED. So I Googled OLED. I cannot find where those are, but I saw the presentation on them, so they look pretty cool. So I'd like to get my hands on them if I can find them. But pretty much everything we use is either a amber incandescent bulb, or we have a yellow bug light that doesn't have any blue light, and we also I still have them. I still haven't replaced all the lights. It's an orange LED light. So I prefer to use incandescent when possible, but sometimes I just haven't replaced all the lights. The main ones use the amber bulbs and whatnot. Okay, and then the effects of blue light. You've got the ocular effects, so the eye damage. So you've got retinal damage, you've got blurred vision, you have eye fatigue, eye discomfort, dry eyes. Okay, and then the system, the biological systems inside, we got sleep deprivation, obesity, cardiovascular disease, cancer, mental disorders, mitochondrial issues. Okay. All right, so blue light conclusion. Blue light is not getting the attention because food gurus, doctors, nutritionists, personal trainers are telling you otherwise. It's much easier to understand carbohydrates, amino acids, fats, proteins, okay, than it is to understand the blue light. Okay, or let me rephrase that. It's easier to go with it because that's what everybody is telling you it is. Okay. However, if you drop your dogma around it and you drop your beliefs around it, like I didn't believe it was blue light when I first started this biohack, but I'm the healthiest I've ever been. Okay. So, yeah, it's the blue light. It's the blue light. It's the EMF. It's all that other stuff. That's why I put the 13 pillars of health webinar together. So nutrition is number 8. Fitness is number 10. Okay. 7 other things ahead of it. Right? Leptin webinar. Watch it. If you are leptin resistant, it doesn't matter what you do. Okay. And change your light environment while you're doing the leptin reset stuff. And get outside in nature. Okay. Stop living your life like a modern day zoo animal, living in your home, going to your car. And that's the only time you get out in nature, going to your office, going to businesses, going to other people's homes. Okay. Cold versus hot. All right. A lot of people in the winter. So I live in Columbus, Ohio. We've got winters where it gets anywhere. It's usually freezing down to mid-teens. Okay. And snows. All right. Some people got it worse. Some people got it better. But a lot of people, they say, I sit down with all my clients, ask them, how much are you outside in nature? And I have probably less than 1% have said they like to be outside in the cold. Okay. Otherwise I'm only outside in the spring or the summer. Okay. And that has got to change because the more you connect with nature, the more you are going to see the health benefits. Okay. Especially when the sun is out. Okay. So the sun does come out when it is cold, okay, in the winter. And CT webinar, so cold thermogenesis. I don't know if you follow me on social media, but you can follow me on social media, YunTraining, YunTraining, on pretty much all of my social media sites, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. The only one is LinkedIn. I'm Jason Yun over there. But on social media, I post a lot of myself doing the cold tub. So I jump in a cold tub, and pretty much if you do have a mitochondrial disease, that is one of the best things to help and reverse it. And if you're one of those people who say, I don't like the cold, it's not you talking. Okay. Your mitochondria is supposed to heat you up and keep you warm. It's also supposed to keep you cool in the when it's hot. Okay, but it's supposed to give heat. Okay, so you're not supposed to get cold. And especially if you get cold being inside a lot, and there's no reason for you to be cold, then that's an indication that your mitochondria sucks, and you've got some issues, and your percent heteroplasmy is heading upwards. So you need to do something ASAP. Okay. But I will have one of the next series is going to be the cold thermogenesis series, going over that, what I do, and how I can help people get that. Because you don't need to jump into a 30-degree pool, a tub like I do. You can start easier. Okay. All right, so part 2, like I mentioned, it's going to go over blue blockers, and it's going to go over filters. So filters for your phone, filters for your screen. Okay, that's basically it. Okay. Pause the share. Stop the share. Hold up. Okay. So I don't know if you can see me again. All right. But going over blue blockers, so just based on this, watching this, if you're not getting on Amazon, getting your Uvex, just get on there, get them. Okay, very important, because if you're not getting them, then that is destroying your melatonin, destroying your sleep, destroying everything. Okay, if you have questions, specific questions about them, let me know, and I can direct you into the right places to get those. And yeah, protect your skin, protect your eyes, and that's it for part 1. I appreciate you watching. Let me know if you have any questions down below, and yeah, let me know how I can help. So let's get to optimal. Let's get to being the improvement warrior. Question everything. Stay strong, stay positive, be the improvement warrior.